Welcome back to The Watch, and holy crap!
Sorry, that was me.
Oz! You've joined us once again. How are you?
I never left. I was in the...
Oh, you're in the roof. Gotcha. Well, you've joined at an interesting time because Gamergate 2 is upon us.
The second... Sure, I guess. What are you...
Yeah, it's kind of like that. And it has just been ramping up. Now, Gamergate 2 has revealed just how insanely, I guess, agenda-driven, woke, the gaming industry is. I don't think I was really aware of just how bad it is, how entrenched this ideology has become, and how much the, I guess, the people trying to guide the industry has been co-opted by these people.
Well, yeah, they've all been put into leadership roles because of diversity reasons, and then have obviously driven more diversity reasons into the culture. And obviously anyone who speaks out about it, or no one speaks out about it because they're afraid of what's going to happen because, you know, they have their cards, their victimhood that they like to play.
And they push out the genuine talent. Like
Yes.
was it CD Projekt Red?
And they, well, one like silver lining is that the people with talent that have been pushed out, they are going to try and make their own games now. And it's going to be the rise of the AA. But AAA, look, if it needs to die and it looks like that's where it's going, good, or like fine, like, you know, we're going to still have good games to play. We don't need this crap. And even though the people controlling, you know, the like in the industry and stuff that are being infected by this, the larger game community doesn't want a bar of it. Like the rejection is so stark, which is bizarre for me. Was like, if these developers had any awareness of their audience, you know, the people they're making these games for, they would not. They would know that this is just awful. One of the things that's enlightens me just how bad it is. GDC. You know a bit about GDC, don't you, Nathan?
I love GDC.
Yeah?
Again, okay, I don't love it. That's a strong word. You know, it's a bit expensive. The reason I haven't gone because it's in San Francisco and it's like 15 grand for a ticket. Like it's not cheap. But there's been talks on YouTube and it's been a great resource for developers through the years.
I've heard the price has gone like way up. It's like 2,000 something.
It's absurd to the point now where like people just don't go because they literally can't afford it. But as a game developer, there's something that you go back to with GDC talks because there's really good information. There's awesome talks from like people at Naughty Dog who made like the Uncharted games. They go through how they did mocap with Nathan Drake, what materials are like. There's lots of technical talks that are like the industry standard for how stuff are made, and there's really good information. Even with the narrative stuff, like you have these veterans and heroes in the game development community that come and give talks and share this insider knowledge to everyone for free.
There was good topics.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like now they've co-opted it into something different. That
Now-
it's an issue.
So this is a list of GDC workshops, topics, discussions, talks, right? I don't know if this encompasses the entire, you know, presentations of all of
probably
GDC. This might be, I don't know, just a grouping of diversity ones or something like that. But the fact that there's so many is bonkers to me.
Yeah. I love there's no end to it. It's so astounding how creative insane people can be. You know, like look at the great painters. Look at Van Gogh. Now it's Baby, whatever the hell they're called.
Sweet Baby Ink. Well, the thing is, though, they're not actually very talented, but I think
They're creative.
Not talented, but
giving
creative.
them the you know, I guess bone that they are a bit creative because they can't think of any other way to be successful, so they have to think of, you know, also they can't think of a way to be successful based on merit and skill and talent, so they have to think of a way to succeed based on other things like immutable characteristics and creating problems where they do not exist, and then saying, "I will fix the problem for you that does not exist."
They're like a construction crew who paint African art on all the walls before they demolish the building. It's quite creative.
So this list is bonkers, and I just need to go through it with you guys because, oh wow, this is the caliber of topics at GDC and the focus of it. And if this is representing a larger majority of the topics or all the topics, I don't know, but it's already too much. The insanity of how focused they are on this to such an extreme degree blows my mind. So take a look at some of these. So out of this list, all the ones with a red dot are something that is pushing a really woke agenda, and just listen to it, right? First one, Community Management Summit, how to grow your game by fostering inclusivity and diversity in your game communities. How to foster inclusivity and diversity in your game communities. That will grow your game.
I have the correct answer to that.
Yes.
Don't.
That would help grow your game. Like this stuff will do the opposite. It will harm your game, okay? And in terms of diversity in gaming, gaming was always diverse. People who enjoyed gaming played games.
Yeah, it was diverse when people were making their own games for their own niche audience, but now they're all trying to do the same thing for the same,
But also,
everyone.
I'm talking about like the gaming community. If you're playing an online game and you meet someone in an online game, you don't care what they look like or anything like that. Usually, are you playing the game? Are you going to be an ally in the game or you're not or anything? And you'll clean up with any number of people, and it doesn't matter what their religion is, their sex, their race, or anything like that.
Well, if they're a girl, then there's a problem. If it's an online game.
If they were a girl, they would usually get more attention.
True. Honestly, though, depending on the game, it's 50-50. It's a mixed thing. I play a lot of online games, and Rust is if you're a girl there, it's 50-50.
So, all right, next one. Game Narrative Summit, creating diverse characters, writing what you know and what you don't.
Writing what you know and what you don't. I don't think people should try and write what they don't know.
But see, the reason why they would, because one of the I guess, bits of advice in writing, in theory, and that is to write what you know, because if you write what you know, you can make a more realistic, fleshed out character. For instance, writing, right? I know a lot about the medieval period, and so writing a medieval fantasy stuff, I can do a really good job at, okay? I know a lot about that and stuff. And so I don't know a lot about economic theory of the Egyptian Empire. And so might be a bit hard for me to write a political thriller about Egypt.
Yeah, and subsequently, they put a lot of gay people and minorities in their games. Mm-hmm. So they're writing what they know, which is important.
That might be it.
And there might be a place for that.
But I think why they're saying now, write what you don't know, is because most writers, they acknowledge that, LGBT people might... And the minority groups are minorities. They don't represent the larger, group of people. And so to try and push their diverse kind of thing in game, you need to write what you don't know now. Which means not only worse stories because they're writing what they don't know, it means, they need the sensitivity writers and the people, I'll tell you how to write this and stuff. But it's a push for the whole diverse thing where, by the way, diversity just means less straight white men.
I'm happy with that definition. I'm happy. Yeah.
That's what it means, right? And these are the people that are constantly telling the world that they need to see themselves in. If they don't see themselves in, they can't connect with it. Now, that never applied to me because, I can enjoy Asian cinema, Jackie Chan movies. I'd never need to see myself because I can connect with people on a human level. But if we were to follow their racist standard, okay, they're actively making games that, according to them, I should not have an interest in because I don't see myself in it. That's their standard. Okay, so Fair Play Summit, non-binary by design.
I'm not sure how... What do you think that means? Because it sounds like comic gobbledygook to me.
I hope, please... Whoever's going to GDC, record these summits.
They record them, put them online afterwards.
Nice. There is
free. So
going to be gold.
We can watch some.
There's going to be a lot more scrutiny on these things, and we'll share what they actually mean by some of this. Okay, game design. So Fair Play Summit. Kind Games, designing for pro-social multiplayer, because gaming needs to be kind.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
You're right, it doesn't.
First, there was the teabag from Halo. You kill a guy, you teabag him. Then there was the grief from Minecraft. Then there's whatever the hell happens in Fortnite. Grooming, I assume.
The Modern Warfare lobbies.
Yeah, the Modern Warfare lobbies. The peak of... That was more racist than Nazi Germany, man, when I was experiencing that.
And it hardened you up a bit. It prepared you for the slander that life can throw at you. And if you can survive a Modern Warfare 2 lobby, you can almost survive any type of abuse in the world.
It's prepared us for the next World War. We're going to call all the Chinese soldiers hackers.
Now, look, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with trying to... But what do they mean by kind games? Does that mean, like, not having... always having an easy mode? The whole...
I'm just thinking, that's the thing with these talks, is they say these big words that you're like, well, I don't know the definition of that.
Yeah.
They probably trick people into thinking, kind games. Like casual games means something like Animal Crossing or one of the, the more cozy games. Maybe we'll go, like, watch that, and then they'll tell you how Modern Warfare, should have...
less violence.
Profanity filters.
Yeah.
And, obviously reporting for, some instances, but I also feel like...
They want to push censorship and... Yeah.
My other question is the credibility of these people who are giving these talks. Do you have evidence and proof of how your work has actually been implemented in the real world? Because that's the thing. Like, I love talks about, theories or whatever, but give me sound data and then I'll be actually interested.
They don't have the facts and logic, dude.
No,
They don't have it.
But that's what I mean. Like, a lot of these talks right here aren't facts and logic. It's, here's my opinion of something that I think is correct.
Exactly. And a lot of these topics are already saying improve your game, grow your game by being diverse. And they're trying to sell that. This will make better games. It does not! Track record, evidence, no. Crap like this ruins games and totally turns off the larger gaming community where they see any type of bit of propaganda. And I'm at that point now, it's like, I'm checked out. Done. You're dead to me. There's other games I can play.
Maybe they mean... maybe it's a misspelling, like they meant kind of games. They're kind of making games. They're also kind of making a huge load of shit.
So that was the inclusive design. Oh, no, this is a new one. Inclusive design workshop. Weaving accessibility into workflows.
Just bring out Helen Keller and get her to use the wing.
Accessibility into workflows. That one confused. Is that like...
Again, these topics, I'm like, okay.
I can't come to work on time. You have to, give me accessibility for me to work. Well, yeah, you're like,
I'm confused. Access, like in your workflow, as in your workflow, you're trying to make games more accessible, or workflow as in someone has a disability and needs accessible resources to work on your pipeline. Like, these titles, I'm confused by them, and I think that's their purpose as well.
And I think there is obviously a level of giving... So if this is about your employees, right? And there's obviously a level of giving accessibility to certain people with disabilities. Like if they're in a wheelchair and they need help to get to the workplace.
Having ramps in your workplace, that's good.
Sure, that's fine. But I have a feeling that there's a line, there's a limit. It would be hard to hire a blind person to work on
3D art.
3D art. But we're almost at a level where any kind of acknowledgement that a disability might preclude someone from certain jobs, which is just the reality, by the way. That's how it works. You can't change reality, right? But any type of acknowledgement like, how dare you, that's ableist. We have a topic coming out talking about this ableist narrative going way too far, but that's for another video.
Well, look, I hate to go against the grain, but speaking as someone who's been pointed out and called disabled over and over again by people on the street, I have to say I really support that subject.
Do you?
Yeah.
All right, so look at the next one. Climate Crisis Workshop, because that's what we need in games, right? Use your game development superpowers to fight the climate crisis. No one cares!
I'm sorry, but like anyone who wants to talk climate change and making video games, it does not work in the same, like, if you have a lamp in your video game, doesn't matter if you turn it on or off, you're still using power. Like,
Maybe traditional games would be more their, tabletop would be more their thing, imaginary.
but like even then, it's like, okay, you use recycled paper. We already basically do that anyway. So it's like and even then, the climate stuff is annoying because it's like, we are ruining our planet. Give us 10 grand and we'll fix it. We won't tell you how.
And we'll use our private jets to fly, and
Yeah.
the whole this climate change from the people saying it. Usually, people who are using way more energy and contributing way more to whatever carbon or anything like that,
Than anyone else.
than anyone else, and that they have the gall to lecture the regular person. But by the way, we want to ruin the energy industry. That's going to increase your power bill by double. Like there are some major issues in other states in Australia of power bills going through the roof because the whole climate thing has just destroyed the coal energy industry over here, and it is screwing people over. And by the way, Australia contributes like a fraction, we're talking a fraction of anything to carbon on a global scale. Like Australia reeling back carbon does nothing to fix the
Go talk
climate.
to China.
Yeah, that's the people you need to look at. Oh, it's just this whole climate insanity push is they want to ruin people's lives and achieve no actual. Because I'm not saying we can't do things to improve the environment. Yeah, don't litter, don't pollute, you know?
But worse, Shad, now they're trying to ruin our games with the climate stuff. That's a step too far.
And what are they going to do to try and combat that? All it is they're going to put in NPCs or a narrative in the game to lecture the gamer about you should stop running your car so long or something.
And see, I'm fine with games that have a message. Like I think of Firewatch is a good example, like, forest fires or whatever, that sort of thing. But it's like if I'm playing Call of Duty and then my person's like, oh, you got to pick up that can, Half-Life, like
Pick up that cat.
You're playing a character that's in a foxhole with shells getting blown over. I was like, oh, these.
I hope these are recyclable.
I know. All this shelling and explosions were really contributing to the climate problem, the CO2. It's like, that might be not the highest concern in that situation.
They have air support. It's running diesel. Shoot it down.
This is such nonsense, but it's such an important thing. They're going to devote an entire thing. That's just one. Next one, Independent Game Summit, the Black Gamic language.
The black gamer language.
No, Gamic language.
Okay, so there is I don't know much gamer speak, but there is one particular gamer word. And when I hear black in the title,
That's
probably not what they're talking about, Oz.
that's what I'm thinking about, though.
They caused you to think about it, therefore. But no, hang on. This. Obviously, it has racial undertones and everything.
obviously.
Yeah, it says right there. But what I mean by that is okay, when people have tried to pander to a black audience so much where it comes off as just incredibly racist. And Marvel made this comic where it was Miles Morales' Thor, and it was filled with the largest black stereotypes under the sun. It was unbelievably, according to their standard about stereotypes, racist on their standard and stuff. And most black gamers, they just get fed up with it. Don't pander to them, okay? And the fact that there is now a specific focus on the black gamic language is like...
I mean, look, African Americans do generally have their own slang within the community, right?
Not all of them, though.
Not all of them, just the brothers out there. But to tie it into gamic, I don't.
Yeah, okay.
There is no gamer language.
And I'm just confused because they're having a whole panel on this, but GTA did a perfect version. Like I remember the cast that were doing, hood stuff. They were reading the script and going, "Wow, they got us down perfectly." Like it's not hard to do your research in these. Like the best way to learn about a different culture or whatever is just to go to that place and put yourself in it. Not have discussions and talks about this is what you think you should do.
And if it's either going to be a white person speaking about something they don't know, or it'll be a really privileged black person that not have the experience.
Tell you all the yeses and nos that you can and can't do.
Or worse, it'll be a white woman. But
The ultimate woke
soldier.
So that's the thing. Like, of course, there are times when, there are cultural elements that you want to be accurate to. But this feels like, no, we're going to inject it into everything. There was the complaints that there's no black people in the Shogun TV series being released at the moment.
But they're all Japanese.
I know, right? But that feels like you have to force in black representation in everything, which is like, no, okay. There's obviously, according to setting, that's how it would work, right?
The best you could get for that is the Dutch and the Mongolians. That's it.
All right. Educators Summit, prototyping AfroFuturism, abolitionism, and climate justice through game education. Wow!
Have you seen Disney's new animated series they're doing, or movie?
What's
Oh, I don't know what it's called, but it's just like Wakanda Disney.
Hey.
Have you seen that?
No.
Oh yeah, it's got all that stuff in it.
Oh, wow. Afrofuturism. Again, this is that over push where you need black representation or black focusing in everything. And it's like, hang on. I understand, of course, having, elements of black culture, everything when it's appropriate to the story, like the GTA stuff, right? Or something like that. But this is like, no, now the future needs to be Afrofuturism. And it's like,
I just feel like that's a talk that just isn't going to have any people. Very specific people, but a lot of people.
What do you mean, people? Sorry.
People, generally.
That's stupid.
Community Clubhouse Development Summit, building safe and pro-social game platforms presented by Community Club. So again, it's the whole safe stuff. Educator Summit, how to teach representation responsibly. A 7-point guide.
How can you teach it I mean, they've been doing it irresponsibly this whole time, but like, what's their perspective of irresponsible?
This would be like avoiding microaggressions and listening to the concern trolls. The sensitivity writers, and doing it the way we tell you should. And it's avoiding the snowflakes who will get offended at everything. Well, to do it responsibly and not offend the people who are ready to be offended at everything, because that just makes them be able to get sympathy points and then virtue signal and all that nonsense. Future Realities Summit, learning from gender exploration in VR to design better social VR.
Maybe it's one of those Japanese VR games,
Again, you put so many words together, doesn't mean it makes sense.
I mean, I just think that, like, they want to learn from gender exploration in VR. That sounds like a lawsuit in the making, where they're going to put a VR something and they're like, what the heck?
Sounds like an hentai game.
I know. It's like, that sounds problematic.
And what gender is it?
These are all topics at GDC. And by the way, like, you can see the list here. We're skipping very few. This is nearly wall-to-wall woke propaganda. And we're not even halfway.
I did hear a rumor that they were going to change their name. Gay Dev Conference. Is that true?
Woke dev. So I know it would be done. Anyway, this one was weird. It was just Game Narrative Summit, writing cyberpunk without cyborgs, guns, cops, or cyborg gun cops. What the fuck? That's not necessarily woke. That's just dumb. Like, do you understand the genre?
Let's make pizza without the bloody base, without the dome.
Okay. I will say one thing. Most panel talks are written in the way to make you react in some way. It's like a YouTube video, because they want you to come to the panel. So when they say, let's write cyberpunk, but without anything cyberpunk, I think other people who are bored will go, well, let's find out, because I have no idea how they're going to do that.
Because this sounds retarded. Yeah, I need to hear what they say about this.
If they want to get a reaction out of me, I prefer something that wasn't immediate violent urges, man. Like
that is wild. And I think that falls into the whole cops are bad narrative, where less police and defund the police, and so cyberpunks with all the police, but also get rid of the cyborgs in cyberpunk.
That's literally half the name. Get rid of the cyber and the punks.
But it's still cyberpunk. Free-to-play summit, designing to reduce toxicity in online games. You'll never change gamers. Like they want to try and shame gamers. You're terrible people. All that stuff. Gamers are going to trash talk the people they're playing against for all of time. That's you can't change human nature like that.
And even then, like, the whole internet and world is toxic.
Exactly.
Like, you're trying to solve a problem that is indefinite. Like, you can't.
I know.
It's like the world, we can't live in a utopia. There's always going to be famines and wars
Mm-hmm.
of some sort. You're always going to have toxic groups somewhere on the internet. Obviously, they want to mitigate that a bit. But at the same time, I feel like all these talks are like, how can we get rid of it entirely?
And you brought up an important point. Some of the most toxic, and when I say toxic, I mean like actual vile, hateful, bigoted, racist and sexist people I've ever seen are the woke mob. These types of people. These are the types of people who will try and get people cancelled and fired and everything like that. You want to talk about toxicity, about othering groups and denigrating other groups and stuff like that, and saying vile things and lying about them. It's people like them that are doing this. But it's like, we're fighting toxicity when they're the most toxic, vile scumbags in the world at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay, so, yeah, there's that one. This one I just have a question mark. So you've been cancelled. Now what? I'm like, what do you mean by cancelled? Do you mean you're like because I reckon that it might be Sweet Baby Inc. is getting cancelled. So let's help Sweet Baby Inc. I have a feeling it's not going to be like, you're a straight white man that hugged someone and was accused of sexual assault.
Maybe it's a trap, though.
It's a trap?
Maybe they go, let's get all the conservatives and ones who've been cancelled into a room together, and then we'll...
Or maybe it's certain devs are, just discussing their games that have been cancelled and they've been fired and they don't know what to do.
I would think that, if not for the other talks who are very cultural war specific. Because cancelled makes sense, because lots of games have been, like, cancelled recently. But I don't think it's about that.
Yeah. This one, like, out of all the topics, the only reason I don't even consider going to them is morbid curiosity to see how much of a train wreck it is. Okay, this one I would actually be interested in to see if they represent the topic accurately, and then I would either.
Okay.
They can't even represent gender accurately. Like, what the foundation of reality, Shad. They're going to be like, no, the sky's pink.
Well, this is the topic. Artist rights and policies in the age of AI. Because I know a lot about that topic, and
You're not going to like that one. I can... sorry.
it's going to be like, AI is coming for our jobs, it's all bad, and because I'm either not going to adapt or I'm actually a less talented artist, I feel threatened by it. The actual talented artists don't have anything to fear about AI, or you could adapt and embrace and find it a way to improve. And so it sounds like that's just going to be a struggle session of AI bad, and we need to protect the less talented artists.
It's going to be no AI talk.
Yeah, basically. LGBTQA 2S plus.
2S? Whoa!
Hang on, this thing keeps evolving. I cannot keep up.
It's like a new iPhone.
This
It's a new Pokemon.
So no joke. LGBTQA2S plus and Global Queer Community Roundtable.
What the hell does that
Oh my
even
god.
mean?
Okay, I have been in the room with some of these and obviously walked out afterwards, but it's just them in a circle talking about how it's just a victimhood meetup.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
I feel like a victim of that title.
Making the first Afro fantasy MMORPG, lessons on intersectionality in game dev. Okay, this is where it got ruined, right? I'm not opposed to, a MMO that's based in an African kind of fantasy adaptation of African culture and stuff like that. We have medieval European fantasy, adaptations, and Japanese fantasy adaptations, Middle Eastern fantasy adaptations, that's Aladdin and all that stuff. So I'm not opposed to that. But now it's like, it's the fundamental thing that the reason they're making that game, intersectionality. And that's where you've jumped the shark, because intersectionality is just a word for racism and bigotry, basically.
Well, there's a game that is very similar to, it's kind of based around like Somalian, Haitian sort of cultures. It's called Rust. It's a very popular MMORPG. Don't worry, that's not too bad. That's not too bad. It's just like, you're on the high seas, you're robbing ships and stuff.
I am seeing some similarities in Haiti at the moment.
Oh boy. Okay, look, this might be controversial, but you'd think a country with a beautiful name like Haiti would be full of peace and love and joy.
That's language.
okay, all I'm saying is with the MMO, I would think if it was successful, they'd tell us what the MMO is.
Yeah, but
they
instead
don't.
they want to talk about intersectionality, and this is the whole. It's good because it's diverse, not because it's a good game, not because of the gameplay.
Because I haven't heard of an MMO like this.
Well, someone's making one. It sounds like.
African culture actually does have some cool mythology, like
Right, yeah, it's got
does.
really awesome cultural elements that you could make a fantasy based around. But, you know, they don't want to actually do that. They want to focus on the intersectionality, and it's only good because it's diverse. And that's not a selling point to gamers at all. Okay, now is the time. Workers in games are ready to form unions. If you thought this wasn't about socialist or communist kind of underpinnings, look at that, right?
So I think I'm a bit more on the opposite side of that one, Shad.
Are you? Interesting. What about worker co-ops?
I just think game developers need to unionize just to a certain extent because of how much, especially, with AAA specifically, working for companies like EA and Ubisoft and Microsoft, you kind of need that. Otherwise, the corporations will screw you over.
So I'm generally very anti-union because they go way too far, and then they become a racket basically, where the people that heads the union gets everyone to pay for them to represent them, and then they ruin things for them anyway, and then they get this fat stacked paycheck, or they're just entrenched to try and continue the racket indefinitely. But don't get me wrong, I think certain worker rights movements are important for worker rights, and I think there is abuses to game workers and stuff.
And also, I mean, how much, look at all this stuff. How far separated are they from a union? They're just more ideological than anything, They're always helping each other out, their own ideological mates.
This is another one where I was like, I would be interested,
You're curious. Yeah.
Using AI to create safer online spaces.
Oh, no. They're going to use it to monitor everyone, and it'd be like a, what do you call it?
Google Gemini.
It'll be a woke Skynet.
Yeah. That what they mean by that, what it really sounds like, is corrupting the open source application of AI, which generally would benefit everyone, by making a closed system that is completely corrupted by agenda politics, just like Google Gemini. That's what how they would want to do it. What matters to us roundtable? Neurodivergent community.
It's just the same thing as the other roundtable.
Tell you what, they got that one right for gamers at least.
Artificial ethics and aesthetics of AI and copyright. That's just one where I'll be like, it's not really woke, but I'm just like, there's so much misrepresentation about AI and copyright. I have a video on that you can get copyright protection on AI, even the current system. It's on Shad AI, okay? People misunderstand this so much. Retaining diverse employees, taking the next step in DEI.
Oh, yeah, that's
B.
just on.
I don't know what the B is. Diversity, equity, inclusion, B.
I don't know. I
don't know.
That's a new one. They always add new letters.
They do. They really do.
It's like Scrabble or something. Bloody hell.
Retaining, you would want to retain good employees based on their good performance, not the fact that they have an immutable characteristic that you just need to keep them because, diversity, right? Rise of the female CEO, perspective from the front line.
What the hell? Kathleen Kennedy write the one? Rise of female CEO?
Black developers matters roundtables, embracing diversity in tech from developer teams to inclusive products.
Just the B means belonging.
Diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging.
Is it the same as inclusion?
Yeah. Now, they need to feel that they belong.
Yeah, you can't be included.
Exactly. It doesn't matter if they got the job. If they don't feel like they belong, you have a toxic, racist, or sexist work environment. If you have a group of friends that like to go out for a drink after work because they get along, if you do not include the person that was just hired, right, you are a terrible person.
So I just think of someone who, might not like drinking, but they're like, everyone come over for board games and, cheese plates and whatever. It's like, well, if they don't want to, now they're going to be forced to as well. Like, it's awkward situation.
Don't invite the...
And usually, I'm not saying, because if someone comes to the workplace and stuff, I was like, welcome in. But usually people that are only hired for DEI principles that pushed... They went out to get hired based on, well, I'm this type of minority, I'm this type of LGBT person, everything like that. They're usually not fun people to hang around with, the woke kind of, ready to lecture you, ready to be offended type of people.
Yeah, we walk
I
on
have
eggshells.
fun with them. I have fun with them.
Yeah?
Quite a bit, yeah.
Yeah, but they don't have fun with you.
Oh, they really don't.
Okay, so that was the embracing diversity in tech to form teams, inclusive products. Okay, staying in play roundtable, gender-specific strategies amidst game industry layoffs.
Gender-specific strategies amidst game industry layoffs.
Meaning, lay off the men, only keep the women. Oddly enough, there has been a lot of guys that have been fired and everything based on spurious accusations.
One guy fired himself.
He did.
And then his sister took the money from him and put it to the woman who did it to him.
That is one of the saddest stories in the world. And
I'm making you laugh about it.
They got away with it too. I can't believe they got away with it. Zoe Quinn did that, by the way. She accused someone of a spurious accusation that didn't seem to be true. He committed suicide.
Because they took everything from him.
And then the sister took all the money. She inherited all the money and then gave it to either Zoe Quinn or something. Jason Zoe Quinn, what project she was. It was unbelievable. Okay, by the way, do you see how overwhelming the woke crap is here? It's just constant. And so, Muslims in Games Roundtable. I just marked that one as like, I mean, why not? Like, there's always a focus on, Islam and not other religions and stuff, like, and why is that important necessarily?
Well, Muslims love Flight Simulator. Hi guys, I'm Oz. You might remember me.
Welcome back, Oz.
Inshallah, brothers. Take this, guys.
Change the rules, co-ops, unions, and other labour structures. Like, again, if you thought this doesn't have direct ties to socialist, communist kind of policy, and the whole DEI, it's the redistribution of wealth, redistribution of labour, and, taking things for what people have and all that stuff. It comes down ultimately to communism, essentially. And now they're trying to push actual co-ops. It's like... If you don't know, a worker co-op is basically the workers own equal parts in the business. The guys that start the business, that invest all the money and take all the risk, right? No, you have to give it all up and give it to workers, by the way. And that means like even the lowest tier in the workforce, they have no idea about balancing budgets, perhaps, market strategy, or anything like that. They'll get equal say now to determine what they'll do and where they'll put resource in the company. It's like, yeah, I'm sure that'll work.
I've never been a fan of 343, but they've taken the co-op out of all of their Halo games. So, thank you, 343.
Breaking boundaries roundtable. Transgender, non-binary, and gender non-conforming game developers.
Cool. Not for me.
This is what you would think that people who are LGBT, transgender, anything like that, you would think their goal would be that it's not an issue. It's not something that would ever be brought up, basically, that they just want to be treated like regular human being, regular people. This is like trying to, no. You have to treat them differently. Always make sure they stand out, okay? And they're trying to shine a light on it, which ends up creating or othering them even more, separating them out more from just being accepted normally, okay?
How many times there was transgender,
non-binary, and gender non-conforming.
So basically, characters who won't respawn.
That's actually about game developers. It's about shining a light on them as game developers, that they should be given more attention, either... Well, it says breaking boundaries roundtable.
Okay.
And to me, the goal would be someone who does a good job. Nothing else matters. I don't care what's in between your legs. I don't care what color your skin is. You do a good job, and that should be a non-issue. Like Morgan Freeman said, how you defeat racism? Stop talking about it. Stop looking and focusing on it and making it this thing when you should just accept people as people. But it's these types of views that and this is pushed in GDC, everything like that, that ends up making the world more racist, more bigoted, more sexist.
If you tiptoe around it, you give power to it. If you make it a joke, make light of it, or don't care.
Just ignore it, okay? A person is a person. closing the gender gap in game audio design. What? What?
Sure, more like I mean,
Is it because there's not enough women
yeah.
in game audio design?
Can I
Is
just
that
say,
it?
Game audio design in itself is a very hard to get in role. Like it's very usually got like 2 or 3 audio guys, and that's a lot of audio guys. So the fact that they're like, we need to make it more gender, conforming to either or, it's like, man, it's a hard enough role to get into.
It's not woke enough though. What they got to do is they got to close the gap for the auditory disabled getting into the audio industry for games. Then it's
We'll just speed run the rest. So empowering through games and collaboration in and with Africa, navigating leadership, insights from LGBTQ+. Oh, they didn't have. That's not inclusive enough. It needs to be LGBTQA2S+. Thank you.
You reckon the other group saw and was like, oh crap,
Crap, what are we doing?
they excluded people.
I gotta go to the cancel culture one now.
So this is LGBTQ+ management in gaming, because if your manager is an LGBT person, they're just better because they're LGBT, which is inherently bigoted in my mind, but that's what they actually think. Like, it is preferential, something to be celebrated and lauded and better if your developer happens to be a minority when they're not.
There's actually a couple letters from bigot in LGBT.
Sorry, we're supposed to be doing speedrun, but you just get you just hit a wall when you hit something. It's just like Student Day, Game Developers of the Future, presented by Diversity.org, Voices of Authenticity, Best Practices for Casting and Representing Queerness. Again, because it's better for your characters to be queer than not. That's their viewpoint. Authentic representation of black hair in games. And by the way, we have overrepresentation of minorities. Like at the moment, if you wanted equal percentage, representation, there's so many, gay people in society, so many black people, so many things. Wouldn't you expect for it to be representative to reflect those percentages? But no, they want to get rid of straight white people and overload everything else, even in settings where it's all Japanese. Okay. Authentic representation of black hair in games. Black people aren't enough. If you do not get their hair right, you are a bigot, sir. Empowering diversity. LGBTQ+ professionals roundtable.
How many of those can they have?
I know, it's like...
They've got 3 or 4 now.
It is not that simple. Neurodivergent intersectionality micro-talks. Micro-talks.
They couldn't fit everyone's talks in for the panels, so they had to micro them into one.
What a hellscape. Like, if you think this woke agenda is not just entrenched in game development, this is CGBCD. What is it? What is it? CD Game Developers Conference?
GDC.
GDC. Oh. This is GDC. Is that the biggest in the world?
Yeah.
Yeah, biggest game developers conference in the world. And look at the amount of woke crap.
It's also in the US, in San Francisco, which this makes sense why this is how it is. I think other parts of the world aren't this bad, but it's just sad because I feel like for every talk there is of this, they've removed other more helpful talks that are more inclusive to game developers. As soon as you put an LGBT, most people who aren't that don't associate with it and go, okay, that space isn't for me because people have said I need to give you your own space. So that's going to be for you instead. And then they're just going to walk around the expo halls going, well, what do I do now? Because...
but you need to...
check your privilege.
Check your privilege and be an ally, you bigots. And if you... Even though they say people should make... push for a way for them to be seen in their games, they don't want your type of people to be seen in games. So you need to, they're allowed to be pushed. I have to see myself, but if you want to see yourself, you're a bigot, and yeah. That's this is wild, right? This is the state of gaming, okay?
There's just so many. Though.
It's so many.
Previous years, I think there's been like 1, maybe 5 max and talks and things I've gone to. We have 3 paragraphs worth of talks.
And all will say the same thing.
Yeah.
Effectively.
We acknowledge traditional custodians.
And probably will say that as well. I find this poetic that this type of GDC, the most woke GDC as everything, has come about during Gamergate 2, when people in the industry have actually started to realize, like, oh, people don't like this stuff.
It's also come on a point where, in terms of game industry, people don't have jobs. Studios are closing. The last thing people need is
Stuff that will get them
talks
fired. Yeah, that'll
that
make...
are like not relevant. Most people are like, I need a job, or I need to better my skills, or I
Yes.
need to improve as like interpersonal, relationships with people. Instead, you're going to get how different cultures and stuff in your like. This doesn't work this year.
And it
because
doesn't help.
No.
Because what the industry needs is successful games. This crap creates the opposite, where gamers are rejecting it wholesale. Gaming, like large companies, are failing because of crap like this, and GDC has the gall to make it their primary topic, right? And so, yeah, that's what the gaming industry needs. All the hardworking devs, that's what they need to help them make better games to ensure their jobs into the future.
Yeah.
I say
I'm glad I didn't
accelerate.
go.
Yeah, well, like that's what Gamergate 2 is. Like we cannot see the death of the woke infestation soon enough. That does mean it's going to be the death of a lot of AAA games, and it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. But that's the topic for our next video. So as always, stay on watch.